Good afternoon. I'm Aditi Srivastav from Plan UK. And today, I'm here to inspire you with a fundraising idea that is over 120 years old. The Statue of Liberty has symbolized freedom and democracy to the world for over 120 years. It is a mark of French and American friendship and their shared ideals of liberty, equality, and justice for all. Imagine New York without the Statue of Liberty. In 1885, the Statue of Liberty arrived with great pomp and show from France to New York's harbor, only to realize that there was nowhere for it to stand. The Americans had failed to raise enough funds to build a pedestal for the statue to stand on. Picture this. This 150 feet tall, massive statue lying dismantled in crates on New York's harbor for over a year, and nothing was done about it. The governor refused to use the city funds, and the Congress rejected a grant of $100,000. Imagine the shame. Meanwhile, other cities, such as Boston, Philadelphia, and San Francisco, stepped forward to fund the pedestal, but only in exchange for the statue. So you see, the Statue of Liberty could have really not been in New York. It was Joseph Pulitzer who stepped in. At that time, he was running his newspaper, The New York World. And through his paper, he appealed to the masses of New York. He said, "We must raise the money. This is not a gift from the millionaires of France to the millionaires of America. This is a gift from the people of France to the people of America." I wish I had thought of that, because it was an outrageous thing to do. He asked for donations from the ordinary working-class New Yorker, people who had never before been asked to do any such thing. It was a bold thing to do because he openly criticized the establishment and the wealthy, people who would have usually stepped forward to fund such a thing. But most of all, it was an enterprising thing to do, because Pulitzer had the vision to see that several small donations could sum up to meet the fundraising goal. So, with a clear target and a deadline of 6 months, Pulitzer began his campaign. He inspired his audience by giving them an idealized vision of liberty enlightening the world. The Statue of Liberty represented the struggles of all these people who had traveled across the seas in search of a new world and for the promise of freedom. It gave them an immense sense of ownership and pride. There was also a clear reward system. Pulitzer promised to publish the name of every single person who made a donation on the front page of his newspaper. Newspapers were the only means of broadcasting information at that time. Imagine having your name published on the front page of a newspaper. It still is a big deal. There were other incentives as well. For every $1 or every $5 that you donated, you could receive a replica of the Statue of Liberty. Soon these replicas became talking points in people's living rooms, and when people saw names of other people in the newspaper, they too wanted to give. They wanted to join this campaign, and it had a ripple effect. It's a bit like how we update our Facebook statuses when we see other people update them, or like how the no makeup selfie and the ice bucket challenge became viral trends overnight. Pulitzer took his audience on a journey. He gave them regular updates and timely updates of what was happening with the construction of the pedestal. And he even added some humor by having caricatures in the newspaper. Again, mocking the stinginess of the establishment and making heroes of his working class. Sometimes he would include human interest stories and payment envelopes. For example, stories of how little children had raised funds to build the pedestal. By the fall of 1885, within 6 months, 120,000 working class New Yorkers had managed to raise $100,000, the equivalent of $2.3 million today. And with most donations being under $1. Not only this, like every good campaign, it also had its side benefits. Pulitzer managed to increase the circulation of his newspaper by 50,000, making it the most widely read newspaper in the entire Western Hemisphere. The Statue of Liberty is one of the earliest examples of good crowdfunding. And I wanted to share this piece of history with you because I think, like me, many of you would have thought that crowdfunding actually began with Kickstarter in 2009 or with the internet. I think it began with Joseph Pulitzer, one of the world's greatest philanthropists. So the next time you go to New York and you see the Statue of Liberty rising out of New York's harbor, remember that the generosity of ordinary working class New Yorkers through a fundraising campaign over 100 years ago is what holds her up. Thank you.